Welcome to this special edition of Let It Rip. I'm Charlie Langton. You know, there were plenty of stories that had people talking in 2013. It's time to take a look at some of the topics that made the rounds on Let It Rip. Among the big ones, the Kwame Kilpatrick trial, crime in Detroit, the city's descent into emergency management, Chapter 9 bankruptcy, and of course, the Detroit mayoral election. In fact, let's start there. The race for Detroit's new mayor, Mike Duggan, will begin his term in 2014, but getting there wasn't easy. First, he was removed from the ballot because he filed too early.
Never heard of anybody being removed from the ballot for filing petitions 2 weeks early.
One of the front runners in the race for Detroit mayor off the ballot. Is this the end of the road for Mike Duggan?
We're confident that we will get this reversed.
It doesn't make any difference whether he appeals to the state courts, to the World Court at The Hague, or even to Captain Kirk's United Federation of Planets. It's not going to change.
You guys are sitting here fighting about residency. You didn't agonize enough. You need to be flogged for what you did because you led your candidate down the wrong road. And here we are. You are the campaign manager. You are responsible for your candidate. You blew it. Absolutely. And now you got the little guy in a mess.
Okay, so Duggan chose to run as a write-in candidate, and then another man with a similar sounding name decided to join the race too.
I got a tip that someone was pushing a man named Mike Duggan to jump into the mayor's race as a write-in candidate to make things hard for the other write-in candidate for mayor named Mike Duggan.
You're not going to file some papers for, write-in candidacy?
Nah.
Did you think about it?
No, not this time.
Did anybody contact you? Ask you to think about it?
No, not this time.
But the more he thought about it, this Mike Duggan liked the idea of being mayor.
So Charlie, point blank, initially he said no, but then he said yes. Did you cajole or persuade this guy to jump in the race?
Well, that's ridiculous. Look, it's journalism. I get a call from a political camp, saying this guy's tied in, he's gonna put his name in. So as a reporter, I go over there and knock on the door. I ask him. He says, no. What are you talking about? I explain what Duggan and Duggan on the ballot means. He thinks about it. He likes the idea. He does it. I follow. End of story. Can I say this? This town, I don't understand what's going on in Detroit politics, and I'm real close to him. This is a snake pit.
And the campaign featured several debates, including one where candidate Tom Barrow accused the moderators of trying to fix the election.
Before you are the faces of those conservatives masquerading here as objective panelists. You need to know that the Detroit News and the Detroit Free Press have endorsed write-ins. These same people endorsed Dave being in the past 4 mayors that dug us into this hole, and they want us now to just write Mike. If you believe the fix is in, then the fixers are right here in front of us.
Nothing surprising to me at all about his grandstanding here. He's a buffoon. He's a jerk. He's a convicted felon. He's been rejected by Detroit voters 3 times. Tuesday will be the 4th time they reject him.
Whoa. Duggan finished first in the primary ahead of Benny Napoleon, but the battle was far from over. Nearly 20,000 write-in votes were in limbo because of the way they were counted.
How would you say that a valid vote was cast if your city clerk, your election commission, all failed to follow the procedure set forth in Michigan election law initially before a single ballot was cast?
Because we have a federal protection of a right to vote for every eligible voter.
What you're really saying is that 20,000 votes should be thrown out. Those votes didn't count because a poll worker can't count the hashtags on the ballot?
Here's the fact of the matter. The city clerk failed in her duty. You didn't have properly appointed election inspections, and thus you have this question spell.
So what's the remedy? Let's assume you're right for 1 moment.
Absolutely.
For 1 second. Let's make sure you're right. Let's assume those people were not appointed. They didn't have 21 days before the election. Now, what's the remedy here? What do you want? Throw the
answer the question. What is the remedy?
The remedy is the fact that...
What is the remedy?
What is the remedy? Because the law is silent on this.
It's a possibility that the votes cast for Mr. Duggan may not be counted at all.
Well, those votes were counted, and Mike Duggan went on to defeat Benny Napoleon in the November general election. The Kwame Kilpatrick trial also dominated the headlines in 2013, and it was the fuel that ignited fierce debates on Let It Rip.
This is the man. He's writing his own story. He's doing this. We're finding out about it. And this is what's so amazing. He does it time and time again. He thinks he won't get caught.
He gets caught.
And Kilpatrick also says that, frankly, he's not to blame for his problems. Reporters are just picking on him.
Kwame Kilpatrick, and this is Michigan and Detroit, and the rules are different from me.
Meanwhile, Steve Hood, there are many who say that, yes, Derek Miller took bribes, gave some money to Kwame, kept some for himself, but there are some who believe that Derek Miller's greater sin was in testifying against a former friend.
You don't turn your back on a friend. If you and your friend are in a criminal enterprise together, you take your poison and let the feds go after him. You do not pile on and snitch on a friend for your own hide, if it's a true friend. And these guys go all the way back to Cass Tech. They've been together forever. For him to turn his back on his friend like this, it's horrible. This is going to be one of the most brutal days, and it's going to be a horrible day for African-American men. You've got the guy who's being accused sitting there in the court with a tether, living in his mother's house. You've got his best friend on the stand who is going to be painted in a horrible light. This is a horrible, horrible day.
I disagree with that. As an African-American man, I do not see Kwame Kilpatrick or Derek Miller as symbolic of who I am. I'm sorry. They are individuals who happen to get caught up in misdeeds of their own doing.
We cannot have this no snitch thing, because I'll tell you what's happening. We're dying.
And there were some people who said that a black woman would never convict a black man in any kind of federal trial like this. And yet you did. Are you getting flack because of what you decided?
Initially I did, but for me it really didn't matter because my race doesn't affect my integrity.
Kwame Kilpatrick spoke to the judge. He apologized for a lot of things. He apologized for cheating on his wife again. He apologized for leaving and abandoning the city of Detroit, for beating down its spirit. But he did not apologize for criminal activity.
He didn't talk one thing about the criminal, the culture of corruption, his criminal enterprise, why he hired Bobby Ferguson, why he got other people to do things. He didn't say any of that. It was really a campaign speech. It was like he was running for office. The city, I want the city to heal. The city has to turn the page. That is a campaign speech. Had nothing to do with the issues that this jury had to deal with. I thought it was, I was not impressed with that speech at all. In fact, actually, I think it hurt him a little bit. It didn't show remorse. I don't think it was sincere.
It doesn't matter if some businessman comes up with $1 million and offers you something, tries to bribe you to do something you know is wrong. If you are righteous in your heart, you will say no. You will turn it down and report him.
You're right.
That's what should be done.
When in the heck are we going to see those businessmen prosecuted? Those are the deep pockets. They enable the corruption. Why aren't they on trial?
Because
why aren't your media demonizing them the way that you did Kwame?
Now, the trial drama wasn't just limited to what went on inside the courtroom. Fox 2's ML Elric and defense attorney Mike Rattay got into it on the steps of the federal building. Take a look.
Is the government racist? Is that what you're saying?
Did I say anything like that?
That's why I asked
the question. Are you ignorant?
That's why I asked the question.
Are you ignorant?
That's why I asked the question.
You're an ignorant moron.
Mike, just answer. Be a man. Quit being such a man.
Be a man. You're going to question me
turn
about
around
being a
and
man?
you walk away.
You're going to challenge me to be a man?
You've got the last word.
You're a punk. I asked you to meet me one time.
And you didn't show up.
Bullshit, I
asked your client.
Want to bet? You think he's going to pimp me out? Okay.
He did then.
Bullshit. He didn't tell you exactly what the deal was. Because you go running and crying. Let me tell you something. You want to go right now? Okay? You want to go right now, Elric? Yeah. You're going to challenge me? You're going to challenge me?
I'm giving you the last word.
You're going to challenge me? Are you going to... What's my... What last word do you want, you piece of garbage?
I'm giving it to you. I'm not putting words in your mouth. I'm asking you to clarify a statement you made. You have the opportunity right now.
Did I call anybody a racist?
I didn't say you did.
Did I call anybody a racist?
I did not say you did. Counselor, you asked interrogative questions.
Get your finger out of my face. Get your finger out of my face.
Take the first shot then if you want it, Counselor.
Get your finger out of my face.
It's gone. It's just my face here. I asked you if you'd like to say something on that.
Did you just say I said somebody was a racist?
I asked you, are you saying? It gives you an opportunity to answer and put it in your own words. I asked you, are you saying that the government is racist? There's race in this case. You have an opportunity to respond.
Because
I'm giving you that opportunity.
Because of Mr. England's quoting Martin Luther King, that somehow implies that the government's racist? Are you that ignorant?
No, I just asked you if you'd like to say something.
I'm on the show because I do want to answer ML's questions, okay? And I want everybody to understand one thing. I never, ever implied or stated in any forum that the U.S. attorneys on this case or the U.S. Attorney's Office in the Eastern District of Michigan are racist.
Political consultant Sam Riddle made his first appearance on Let It Rip since his conviction for his involvement in Detroit corruption, and he brought along an apology.
The most important question I got to ask you now, I know you didn't kill anybody, you didn't commit armed robbery, but you did admit to conspiring to take bribes, and you did lie about it. What you did was wrong, and what you did hurt the people of Detroit. What do you have to say to them tonight?
You know, I said it earlier, Hugh, and I have no problem saying it. You know, I can look the camera straight on and say that what I did was wrong, wallowing in a cesspool of corruption, and certainly I give not an ESPN apology, but a heartfelt apology to the people of Detroit for being involved with that crap. A lot of us have been involved with things that we probably shouldn't have been. Some of them have not been as blatant as mine. Some of us have not gone to prison. We ought to be on our way to prison, but we aren't. So all I can say is what is done is done. I'm looking forward and have a spiritual base to go forward and adopting somewhat the Al Taubman principle of redemption. He gives dollars. I'm going to give counsel and advice and try to make Detroit a much better place for all of us.
You went into prison a liar, a thief. Now that you're out, are you a changed man?
Well, I think I'm in good company right now with reporters.
Are you lawyers? But are you a changed man? Are you a different man?
Hugh, let's not be cute. Okay, look,
is your moral compass different now?
Here's the deal, okay?
Would you not accept that money now?
My Lord and Savior Jesus Christ has already redeemed my soul when he sacrificed his life on the cross. And all I can tell you is this, and that is that my faith-based system keeps me going straight ahead in an honorable manner.
Now, that apology wasn't quite good enough for Charlie LaDuff.
But you still haven't looked at the people and said, I'm sorry for raping this town and making it miserable for kids.
And you know
Guys
what?
like you are
you,
done.
Charlie, are the biggest pimp in Detroit.
It might be so, but I don't steal from the people.
You're a big time.
All right, I'm trying to root out this junk that you guys did to the city, Sam.
Still to come, he's the judge who claimed to have no shame in his game. The sex scandal that booted Judge Wade McCree from the bench. Plus, some of the other memorable moments on Let It Rip this year. We'll be right back.
of the nation's most violent cities living up to its name. Detroit's crime stats are out, and now the pressure is on to bring those numbers down.
Business is booming, and it's all because of RIP t-shirts. And if that's not a wake-up call, then I don't know what is.
You have got to be sick of seeing stuff like this. I know I am. Retaliating against a 66-year-old man? Really? These people have lost their minds.
Welcome back to this special edition of Let It Rip. I'm Charlie Langton. In 2013, crime continued to be a major issue of concern for Detroit residents. All that concern was shared by some of the Fox 2 reporters who covered the stories every day.
Not odd to be driving down the streets of Detroit in our live trucks and hear random gunfire. It's just, when they say it's a war zone, it is a war zone right now. And one thing, it certainly feels different out there. It seems like it's become more dangerous, especially after the last few years. People just don't seem to care.
And Andre, they're also targeting children and the elderly as well.
I know, those are the things I think that for me just break my heart and just make me want to scream and yell and cry and every emotion that there is. Because when you go after somebody that you should give the utmost respect, an elderly person. I mean, the story I just did, this 66-year-old man, he served this country proudly. He's doing a job, he's living his life in the city of Detroit. He's willing to get a gun and use it because these young kids, he's trying to stop committing crimes. He's trying to show them the way. They're shooting at him.
And Alexis, you listened to a story too about a t-shirt shop where the owner started the business, and initially the customers came in for celebratory events, birthdays, weddings, but now they're coming in because of tragedy.
Absolutely. You walk into that shop and in some ways you feel like you're in a morgue because there are pictures of all the victims on the wall. That little girl that I met, she's 13 years old, and she's bought 5 RIP t-shirts. She just kind of pulled that number out of thin air.
RIP, rest in peace.
Right. And she said, and one thing that stood out to me was, how many graduations has she been to? How many celebratory events has she actually been to? But she's bought all these t-shirts. I bet she's even been to more vigils.
For us to even have to say, parents, to get involved, you need to get involved with your kids. Are you kidding me? But to have that argument over and over to try to persuade parents to get involved, it's ridiculous.
One story that got a lot of attention, a man beaten and stabbed inside a Detroit gas station, all in plain view of customers who just watched.
Video of a man, 64 years old, being attacked inside a gas station. The elderly man ran inside trying to get away, but the attacker followed, hit him, stabbed him. But even more shocking were the customers inside who did nothing to stop it.
You were being attacked so savagely, yet people were just standing around watching.
Well, just like I said, it make me feel like people don't care what happened to other people. I understood that they said that he had a gun, but I didn't never see no gun.
How can you physically watch someone being stabbed in front of you and not do anything? And you'll have to excuse me, but covering the streets each and every day, there's some days that I'm very cynical, other days hope is restored. I'll tell you something. Days like that, hope goes out the window for a quick moment because you wonder how anybody with this much humanity in them would allow themselves to sit back and watch. And one guy actually had the gall to turn around and say, I need my change.
Exactly.
All right, on to another hot story of 2013. Wayne County Judge Wade McCree said there was no shame to his game, but he did bring shame to his court. His involvement in a sex scandal ultimately booted him from the bench.
If I had a minute, she wanted an hour. If I had an hour, she wanted an afternoon. If I had an afternoon, she wanted an evening. If I had an evening, she wanted a night. I was vulnerable, but my nose was open. I knew what I was doing when I was getting into this relationship. I lusted after this woman.
You knew he was a judge. Yes. You knew he was married. Why did you get involved with it?
Poor judgment, clearly. It was a sad time for me, and he was interesting. He pursued me, and why not? There was something to do.
You were involved for about 4 months, 4 or 5 months?
Yeah, somewhere around there.
And during that time, according to his testimony and according to yours, there was lots of sex. Sex in his chambers, sex in his wife's bed, sex in his mother's bed. You were almost like rabbits for a time there. But the problem is one or both of you fell in love.
Correct.
Did you?
Yes.
Did he?
Well, according to him, yes.
And an even bigger problem is that you got pregnant.
Exactly.
Is Judge Wade McCree the father of your child?
Well, I'm not willing to answer that question.
Fast food workers demanded higher pay in 2013. They wanted their hourly rate supersized to $15 an hour.
We can't raise our children off $7.40. It's hard to survive. You can't pay bills. It's hard. You can barely eat.
You can't afford to pay rent on $9-10 an hour.
Everything is going up except minimum wage, and we need to understand that the fast food chains are a $200 billion money-making industry, and they're crying about $15 an hour.
It's a shame that the economy has come to the point that people trying to raise family on fast food. Fast food chains used to be starter jobs for kids to get out of high school and college, and that was your first job where you got fired 2-3 times. You learned the whole work ethic and everything else.
He don't want me to talk, but let's keep it real. Here's the thing here. Listen, every time President Obama says let's raise the minimum wage, people like Rocky and the Republicans knock it down.
The Boy Scouts decided to allow gays, but not in leadership roles.
A particular set of rules since their inception. Now, why should a private organization be forced to change its basic rules?
First of all, the Girl Scouts don't have this policy. The YMCAs across the country don't have this policy. The Boys and Girls Clubs across this country do not have this policy. It's absolutely absurd. I was a Boy Scout. I'm a gay man. If you think that I threaten your child, I think that's absolutely absurd.
Your religious choice should not be.
It's not my religious choice.
It is your religious choice.
It is about morality.
Your religion is a choice, and it is a choice protected under the Constitution of the United States. My sexual orientation is not a choice. No scripture, no Quran, no Bible supersedes the Constitution of the United States. When a young 16-year-old kid comes out at their school and only wants to live their life with integrity, when a U.S. military officer only wants to serve their country with integrity, that is gay morality. You do not have a monopoly on morality.
Now, whether it's opinions about gays or even race, free speech may be protected in the Constitution. But when free speech turns to hate speech, there are consequences.
I want to talk about what is tolerance. Tolerance is accepting people and being respectful of each other's opinions, unless they hurt other individuals.
Everyone has the right to their own private judgment in matters of religion. And so in this country, you have liberty, freedom of religion. People are entitled to believe what they want to believe. Let's call this what it is. It is the politicization of sin. It's using sin for political purposes. The Republican Party is really good at stuff like this, using race for political purposes, using class for political purposes. And what you have is you have a political move where they're using homosexuality, sin, and then making claims about policy. Right? They want to be married because they're dying. They want benefits. This is not a religious crusade. These are not religious comments. These are political comments being used to divide the body politic and to shape policy by using theological terms.
Your response?
We should stop it at all costs.
That's a great little bully pulpit you were on for the last 2 minutes. But let me tell you, you are definitely one to talk about intolerance. You went to a Farrakhan speech and you left the Farrakhan speech talking about where he specifically called Jews the members of the synagogue of Satan, and you said that you left inspired, the conversation was timely, and that you felt it was impactful. These were exact quotes to you.
This is what Republicans do.
Do not call Republicans intolerant.
Spin,
we came here to talk about tolerance.
They politicize.
If you want to filibuster, you can filibuster on somebody else's
They
time.
take terms out of context.
You cannot have an opposing viewpoint in this country about any major topic, I don't believe. If you are against gay marriage, you are deemed a homophobe. If you voted for Mitt Romney, you're a racist. If you're against gun control, that means you're for letting some crazy guy go blow up an elementary school. I just think you can't, there's no tolerance for opposing viewpoints in this country.
Okay. Marijuana is always a hot topic, including this one, where a new study showed 60% of high school seniors believed there's nothing wrong with pot.
This is just a sign that the kids are wising up, that marijuana does not belong in the same category as heroin. And that's been the lie that we've been perpetrating, and these kids don't buy it.
There are a lot of negative effects that are associated with marijuana. One of the main effects is, first, that marijuana is a mood-altering drug that affects brain function. The adolescent brain isn't finished developing until the age of 25, and so when we get young people who start smoking marijuana, it is killing brain cells.
For people to get in the way of this 1,000-year-old medicine by this red herring argument that the kids, save the children, it's reefer madness.
Always an interesting discussion. As you probably have seen, our Let It Rip guests sometimes get loud, very loud. Still to come, some of the more memorable moments when Huel tried to rein in those panelists. Welcome back. Sometimes our Let It Rip guests can get pretty loud, including yours truly. Now, Huel Perkins tries his best to get everybody to calm down, and most of the time it works. But at times, it takes a little extra effort.
You cut me off.
Wait, one at a time.
Wait a minute. Hold it. You don't see.
Charlie, let's hear from Charlie Langton.
Here we are. All right, you did it. Look at
let Charlie, Robert, Charlie.
But you don't want to be realistic.
Panel.
You ought to do this.
Panel.
I'm glad you are.
All right,
Panel.
We're out of time. All right, then. All right.
But then I don't.
Okay, wait a minute. Joe, panel, wait a minute. Adolph, let me hear Charlie. No, let me hear Charlie. We need somebody else to speak here. Be quiet. Adolph. Adolph, shut up. Shut up. Adolph, we're out of time.
Y'all sit here. Y'all
we're out of time. Done.
You bring all my life.
Done. All right, shut up. All right. That's it. When we come back, Adolph may be gone. Charlie takes the show on the road.
And now the portion of the show where our viewers get to express their opinions, a segment we call Let It Rip on the Road. Here's your chance to let it rip, okay?
All right, I'm about to let it rip.
You're on Let It Rip, all right? Say whatever you want to say. What should we be talking about?
We should just be, we all need to come together.
It's got to be the bankruptcy.
Get all the homeless people off the street.
The lack of commitment to the police force and the firefighters.
Your day to let it rip. You can say anything you want. How does that make you feel?
that makes me feel like I can say whatever I want, but I don't think you're telling me the truth.
Homelessness out here, we can open up a few of our abandoned DPS schools, one on the east side, one on the west side.
All of us from the suburbs come down here, spend time.
People everywhere. I had a hard time finding a place to eat today.
How long do you think it'll take?
I'm actually from Chicago, so the Bears, but the Lions have upset me too, because my wife is from Detroit, and
You're blaming this on your wife?
Yeah, I blame everything on my wife.
How long will it take to make Detroit better? Let it rip.
You know what? Mercury Bar, I don't know. Somebody give me something.
Give us a theme for Detroit. Brand Detroit right now.
Pride, sustainability, and the American dream. Bam. Off the top of my head.
High five. That's awesome.
There you have it. And cut.
And there you have it. A memorable 2013. We're looking forward to an exciting 2014. As always, we thank you for watching. And that's it for this edition of Let It Rip.
The Let It Rip discussion continues online. Sound off on Facebook, Twitter, or myfoxdetroit.com. Working for you. The Edge at 11 starts now.
They were closed on Christmas, but that didn't stop thieves from breaking into several Detroit fast food restaurants. And they weren't after the burgers and the fries. Tonight, those Christmas crooks are on the loose, and they have a lot of loot. Take a look at this. They took the safes right out of all of those restaurants they hit. Fox News' Andrea Isom tonight with a closer look at how this thing all went down.
We want you to take a long look at these pictures. We really think you should. They're photos of two men who on Christmas Day were up to no good. It was early Christmas morning, all was locked up tight. These burger joints were closed to customers, they'd been still for the night. Not a creature was stirring in Motown, not even a mouse. But a couple of criminals, some menaces, were out and about. Two thugs were on a mission to make their way inside a few fast food places on the east and west side, breaking glass and busting out windows and more. And once they got in, sources say they used tons of tools to pry open the doors. It was a safe they were searching for, Detroit police tell Fox 2, at this McDonald's on West 7 Mile, this one on Gratiot, and a Burger King on McNichols, too. These men were caught on camera being greedy like two Grinches, taking an undisclosed amount of cash, likely to add to their stash. No one was hurt in this holiday heist, but if these guys are caught, they'll sure pay the price. Take another look at these two creeps again. Lock your eyes on him, and then his friend. If you know who these guys are, don't just talk about it, turn them in, because none of us want them to be able to do this again. In Detroit, I'm Andrea Isom on The Edge.
Well said, well said, well said. Another round of snow falling in metropolitan Detroit tonight. Let's bring in the captain, Rich Luderman.